Flippin' heck, man. Hey everyone, Dan from USMX Football here, and Chelsea might just be the most inconsistent team in the Premier League. We've just finished drawing 0-0 with Bournemouth today. I'm recording this a couple hours after it just finished, and this is coming off, though, the entire week we've just had, right? Where midweek lost to Leeds, and then obviously the weekend before we drew with Arsenal. But this is a feeling I've been having for a while, that Chelsea just play to the level of their opposition. Whether that be when we're playing Wolves in the Cup and it's 3-2 in a way tighter game than it needs to be. Or when we're playing PSG in the Club World Cup final, where a team that looks way out of our league and we're playing to their level. Arsenal this past week, we probably outplay them for the majority of that game, even with 10 men. But then Leeds, an absolute calamitous defensive display. Not only, I don't want to single out any particular players, but it almost feels like a hallmark of this young team that because they are so, I wouldn't even want to say don't have that much experience, because players like Reece, players like Enzo, they have enough experience to know better, but it really does feel like if we have a big game, they're going to be very much up for it. If we have a game against the Leeds or a Karabag, they're going to feel like, we don't have to put in a shift. It's just Karabag, it's just Leeds. But actually, no, every game matters in this season. It is a marathon, not a race, not a sprint. And it's just so frustrating, because we all know Chelsea in December, we're notorious for just having not only a capitulation sometimes, but just a rough month. I remember last season it was just as bad. But you expect more from the team we have. And I knew I wasn't going to single out any particular names, but we got to talk about Liam Delap. Just I think he's had one of the poorest weeks, to be honest, of a player I can think of in a long while. He didn't look particularly bad in the Arsenal game. He did come on for a little bit. And we have to remember he is coming back from an injury. He's trying to catch up to the fitness of everyone else, which I think is a point, particular with Cole Palmer. We're thinking, why isn't he dropping goals and assists right off We're in December. Players like, you look at the fitness of someone like Semenyo on Bournemouth's side. They've been playing every week since September, really August. So, of course, they're going to be much sharper, much quicker to the ball. Someone like Palmer was the last game he really played maybe Bayern or Brentford? One of those games, and, that was months ago. So, in my opinion, it's going to take him at least until Christmas time, at best, to even have a hope of catching up to the rest of the league in terms of fitness and sharpness. So, yes, Cole is an exquisite player, but he's still a human, and he's coming back from injury. A groin injury, which, people don't think of your groin as like, oh man, it's so important. No, a lot of your explosiveness comes from, your hip, your mobility. So he's going to take time to be the player that we all know and love. So I can't be too hard on him, but let's look at someone like Pedro Neto, who I think has been such an excellent utility player from Maresca this season, but I think he does have his shortcomings. He's a very, I don't want to say one-dimensional player, but you almost know what you're going to get. And he's been one of our most productive players this season, up there with Enzo Fernandez. But in a game like Bournemouth, where after a while, if you kind of see where the tide's going with him, please don't wait until even after the 70th minute to make a change. Because, yes, he can have a last-minute winner, but that's really not his game. I think his game is to, be a good utility player in the team, press a lot, be a pace outlet, but don't expect him to create something out of nothing. That's where Estevao comes in. Where, I know what Maresca is doing with him. He's a young player, and he wants to give him the right amount of time and opportunity to mess up and learn and grow, but I feel like he also needs to give him a little more trust. Garnacho, I actually don't think he was particularly bad. He was the one trying the most things in this game. People might get on him for getting substituted, but he had an excellent, I don't want to say excellent, we didn't get a goal or an assist, but he was probably, I don't want to say our best player, but on the day, probably in the attacking lineup, probably one of the better players. I think actually the best player is, I'm going to give it to Wesley. in defense. It's so... Please, Enzo Maresca, please let Chalobah and Fofana build something. You don't build a defensive core, a defensive duo by switching and switching. We do not trust, and I have never trusted since he moved from Fulham. I have never trusted Tosin Adarabioyo. Please, I don't want to see him playing anything higher than a cup game. And by cup game, I'm really only talking about Carabao Cup. I kind of don't even want to see him in the FA Cup. Badiashile, there's a player there, I think, but he got pulled in the Leeds game, and I'm not sure if he's injured. He made the bench here this week today at Bournemouth. But wow, that injury record is worrying. And to be honest, for the few bright spots he's had just as many really shocking performances. I think to the clapping at Arsenal, when we held 5 at Arsenal, he was in defense. So yeah, Badiashile, maybe FA Cup is his level. Maybe I think he can play at Atalanta coming up next week, midweek. But after that, I please in the Premier League, Chalobah, Fofana, Cucurella. As far as the spine of the team, Chalobah, Fofana, Robert Sanchez, don't mess with it. Don't tinker with it. That's our strongest back three. And Gusto has really been surprising me. I think he had another good game. I don't want to say he was excellent today, but he's been slowly creeping up to a very consistent utility player for us. He's never going to get the plaudits for, what he does offensively. That's really not his game. But as far as being an excellent utility player as well for the team on that right-hand side, I think he had a decent game. Fernandes and James in midfield, I think it was one of James's weaker games. He wasn't bad per se, but for his high standard, he lost the ball a few too many times for my liking. And I thought Enzo was actually pretty poor today. Was losing the ball way more times than James. His passes weren't connecting. I don't know why Andre didn't start this game. I thought this was a guaranteed game. Put Andre Santos in. Enzo Maresca has admitted that Enzo Fernandez has been playing way too many games. So I really don't know why Andre hasn't been starting. I don't know why Josh hasn't been getting a few more minutes. He can help in midfield right now that Caicedo isn't available. Or he can help Gusto at right back. Maybe move Gusto into midfield. I don't know. That's just me. And Gittins as well hasn't been able to feature as much. I think, I'll just trust Maresca on that. I'm not going to, feel too strongly in any way about Gittins. Another guy we got to talk about is Joao Pedro. We gave him a lot of praise at the Club World Cup, and I feel like we got catfished because the performances we saw at the Club World Cup, that is not the player we got. And I have to admit, I didn't watch him enough at Brighton to really come to a well thought out opinion of him. But what we've seen in the Premier League so far this season, I'm really not impressed. He's not a striker at all. He doesn't want to be a striker, at least from what I see, because he doesn't take shots. So much of the time when he has the ball, he's just carrying it around. Touch here, touch there, running back away from goal, making the safe pass. I kind of don't want that from my striker. I know he's playing in that 10 position sometimes. Enzo plays in there, but I much prefer Enzo there because with Joao, he's not... When we saw in the Club World Cup him pulling these insane finesse shots from outside the box, chipping the Donnarumma in the final, he hasn't done any of that. And it hasn't even been his finishing's been poor. He's not making the runs. He just hasn't done that. And it's like, what the heck? Why did we get catfished on those performances at the club on such a big stage? So Joao has been very, in my opinion, if he's not coming up at like a set piece for a header, he's not going to impact the game that much unless he's like keeping the ball. If you're leading the game, maybe you want to have Joao Pedro on to just play it safe. But when you're chasing a game, that guy is less than useless, man. Mark Guew didn't have a particularly good game, but come on, man. You can't be harsh on this guy. He's 19, and he's been begging for minutes. And when he has had the chance, in those cameos he's had, those fuck you minutes, 10 minutes off the bench, when, the game's dead, he's been decent. So right now he has a 60-minute run at Bournemouth. Doesn't light up the world. In my opinion, wasn't getting some of the balls he should have been getting, but let him. It's not even a sharpness. Maybe it is a sharpness thing, but let him get to that level. I think he's going to be our starting striker for the next, at least in Atalanta. I don't know if next week at Everton, I believe it is. Yeah, Everton at home. If he's going to also be our starting striker, it might be, Palmer, Joao Pedro. But you got to trust Guiu, because he's not going to get better as a striker if he's not consistently playing. And right now that we don't have Delap, I think he's more than earned that position. So that's pretty much my feelings about the game. I'm sorry I've been away for so long. I didn't want to put that at the beginning of the video because people get sick of hearing YouTubers. I've been gone for this reason. I've had a few reasons why, but I'm going to try. I know I always say that, but I'm going to try and hit you guys with more content right now, especially that we have just so many games in December. I'm just going to try and do a review on every game. I can't promise I'm going to do a preview because that's going to be a lot, but at least for every game, I'll try and hit you with a review. So thank you all for sticking around with me, for putting up with my inconsistencies. I'll treat you for it. I promise. I promise. Thank you all for watching. Hopefully Chelsea get better, and you have a good one. Peace.